News recently broke that relationship guru, image consultant, and YouTuber Kevin Samuels tragically passed away at the age of 57. All of this has elicited a complicated response of sorts. His critics have referred to him as a chauvinist and toxic, while his fans have hailed him as the godfather to the Manosphere. I'm making this video for several reasons. First, because I've reacted to multiple Kevin Samuels clips and interviews on this channel over the years at the request of my viewers. Second, because Kevin Samuels identified as a person of faith and even claimed to serve in ministry before. And lastly, because me and Kevin Samuels had a few acquaintances and mutual friends. And with that, my hearts and prayers are with Kevin Samuels' mom and his friends and family that have been directly affected by this. Oftentimes, as viewers, we forget that at the end of the day, social media is a place for entertainment. However, we forget that the people who are doing the entertaining are often human and complicated on the other side. So here's my friend Hafiz sharing his personal opinion of Kevin Samuels' contribution.
And the reality is, from the brief moments we've had together, I can honestly tell you, Kevin Samuels was trying. He was trying to help. He was trying to create a healthier world for black men and black women. Whether he was perfect or not, who am I to demonize any man's mistakes when I have so many myself? So I will never talk about the blemishes on one man before even addressing the blemishes in my own life. But I'm beyond grateful for him, for trying. Yes, he went too far. I go too far. But he at least said things that men were feeling. He started a conversation that was dormant for years, and I will always be grateful for him going forward and doing things and me being able to learn from his mistakes.
Ruslan.
That's a video earlier from Hafiz's roommate's channel called Life Is But a Vapor, and tell you what, after this situation, 57 years old, seemingly healthy, in seemingly good shape, Kevin Samuels passing away, confirmed yesterday, I believe by his own mother, who found out through social media of all places. What a bizarre and weird time that we live in. And that should definitely remind us how fragile life can absolutely be in these times where you just never know until you're gone. I have a love-hate relationship with the Manosphere. I think that Kevin, as well as Rollo, who kind of coined a lot of these ideas, his book called The Rational Male, a lot of good addressing of problems within dating, but some pretty unhelpful conclusions at times, which I'll get to later. The reaction to this on Twitter was so weird, and I understand that people are hurt from some of the things Kevin Samuels has said. And it's, again, look at my catalog of videos disagreeing with a lot of the things he said. And again, I'll get to that in a second. But the vitriol, borderline celebration of a person passing, it seems that we've weaponized hurt and our feelings to completely just break all social cues, barriers, rules to society, and being gleeful that someone passed away. Like, that is very dark to me and very, very bizarre that people are somehow happy. By the way, if you didn't like Kevin Samuels, you know what's going to happen? Another probably less reasonable version, more extreme version will probably rise up. And I mean, you already have Fresh and Fit kind of echoing a lot of the stuff Kevin Samuels says, just in a more goofy, sloppy fashion. Kevin Samuels could say it and be like, oh, his presentation's better. It kind of makes sense. Fresh and Fit say it, and you just go, wow, that just sounds stupid when they say it. I think this is sad news because despite some of the strong disagreements I've had with Samuels, which I'll get to in a minute, and where I think some of the stuff came from, I do think that worthwhile to acknowledge that someone can be very flawed and complicated in some of their conclusions while saying, but there is some truth to what they're saying in terms of female-male dynamics, and perhaps they can evolve, perhaps they can change, perhaps they can grow. At least I'm optimistic in that. And I've thought about calling into a Kevin Samuels stream before. He had this whole stream, which one of the things I've strongly disagreed with him on why sex work is good and why paying for poom poom is a good idea. And I almost went to call in, but from gathering the conversations, he wasn't looking to talk to anybody who was religious and anybody that wasn't of the same ethnicity. I've offered to debate Rollo before on my channel in terms of some of these weird ideas. And here's the thing about social media that I think people misunderstand. There's a desire that most creators have to get on these platforms to want to make a net positive contribution. I think he was attempting to make a net positive contribution to relationships, to the nuclear family. He had a private group where he was connecting people and they had multiple people that got married from there. The issue becomes is when you touch the algorithm, and oftentimes what happens when you touch the algorithm is you touch the algorithm by dunking on someone, by exposing how silly someone is. And in his case, the folks he was quote unquote exposing were black women in a lot of these streams. And then there's the whole dynamic of like, could you see this happening with white women? Would white women be treated this way? And he did that too, and he spoke to men too. But what happens is, as a creator, with all perhaps noble motives, you then want to recreate that. And that's the average at best video. Because again, this is entertainment, guys. It's tough to discern on what is hyperbole and meant to jolt you to think different and what is someone's actual worldview. And that was always my issue was, man, some of the stuff, the conclusions that he had about high value men should cheat. Not statistically speaking, high value men do cheat, but high value men should cheat. Wait a minute, what are you talking about? So here we are. I liked his idea of an IKEA marriage, which is what we had. You build something up from the ground. When you start younger, you build a life together. And then what? At some point, because you're quote unquote high value in terms of your net worth, you are then therefore allowed to cheat and make really toxic decisions in a relationship. That makes no sense to me, right? And has spurred on to what you saw Fresh and Fit recently go through viral, where they kind of got laughed at and exposed for what? For talking about this bizarre polygamous, I don't even know what to call it. Oh, it's a man could have multiple women because he's high value and a woman can't. Like the double standards and the hypocrisy with some of these conclusions, I think are harmful. The tricky part is it's guised in a lot of truth, in a lot of problems that are happening in society, but the conclusions, and again, this isn't my words. Go watch my video, go look him up. High value men should cheat, out of his own mouth. Why would you say that? Why would you promote that? Why would you ever want that to ever be a conclusion for anyone in any relationship if the objective is we want to see healthier marriages, we want to see healthier families, especially from disenfranchised communities, we want to see healthier offspring, we want to continue making the world a better place? How is high value men cheating congruent to that idea? I didn't see that. So again, it didn't seem like that was a hyperbolic statement. He did a 3-hour stream on that, which I watched and I made a reaction video to. The entire idea of paying women for, escorts or sex or whatever, how is that helpful? How is that healthy? How is that beneficial to society? How is that beneficial to doing things that are going to better a community? Now, you're going to have a generation of people that he's immortalized at this point, and there's going to be more and more and more men don't cheat, they exercise options. That's now a mantra that's embedded into a lot of men's heads that, let's be honest, the vast majority of folks who watch Kevin Samuels aren't high value men. The vast majority of folks who watch Kevin Samuels are doing it from a place of, yes, some degree of, I guess, men's improvement, but also some degree of it being cathartic to see a man finally tell women what they have felt but haven't been able to tell women because of their own rejection. And so, like, if you want to become a high value person and build your net worth to 6-figure, which, by the way, everything about his definition of a high value man and where I am in my personal life is directly correlated. So I'm not speaking as someone who isn't his definition of a high value man. I would never cheat on my wife. I would never want to cheat on my wife. I would never want to put my family through that, or multiple divorces, or all the baggage that comes along with that. So here are some of the values, and they're incongruent. Because if your objective to become high value is so that you can get women, so then you can marry, and then you exercise options, this is going to do more harm than good in the macro. okay? And again, I don't know if these things were him being hyperbolic, and I never had the conversation. I never had the opportunity to have the conversation with him to potentially challenge him, and nor do I think he really wanted to be challenged based on some of my friends who I'm business acquaintances with having interacted with him quite a bit and challenged him on, not challenged him, but proposed some things to him. Gathering from those conversations didn't seem like he was somebody that wanted to be challenged. But the sad part in all of it is here you have someone that's at the peak of their popularity. You have somebody that's at the peak, now crossing over, going mainstream. He's in the Future video. He's in, you know, talking to Nicki Minaj, talking to multiple famous rappers. And as you get to the peaks of this whole thing, of the social media sphere, and you crack a code for content. Again, all personal worldview issues aside, you crack a code for content that is, the only thing I could think of that was very similar was like the Dave Ramsey format, where people would call in, he'd have a script of questions he'd ask, and then there would usually be a conclusion that he would drive people to. With Dave Ramsey, it's the baby steps. With Kevin Samuels, it's like, you need to lower your expectations. You need to and a lot of times I did see him tell, go back to your husband, your ex-husband, your baby daddy, or get in the gym or go to therapy. Like the formatting of it was brilliant. The formatting of the content was brilliant. The incongruence was frustrating, especially identifying as a person of faith who was self-proclaiming to lead singles ministry at some church somewhere in some time in his life. The phrasing of my next ex-wife, like there's so many things. And again, people are complicated, but as creators, what I'm reflecting on myself in creating videos and understanding what may go and what may tank is to not be a slave to the analytics and to just what works and is pragmatic and is shocking so that people keep watching at the expense of either common sense, like high value men should cheat, at the expense of kind of dunking on a whole demographic of people, at the expense of my own values being incongruent and conflicted. Because those two things, the cognitive dissonance to say, we want nuclear families, we want women built up, we want the family in the home, we want marriages to thrive, we want all these things, and then to also say high value men should cheat, paying for sex is good. Oh, and by the way, I know all about Christianity, don't you dare tell me anything about Christianity, I did singles ministry. There's so much cognitive dissonance, but a lot of times this is the content space, and so you think just because something's working, I'm gonna keep doing it. And again, I don't know, maybe that was really what he was on, maybe he was doing it to serve the algorithm, I don't know. However, it's sad because again, this dude's 57, heart attack. Like that's really young. I got friends that are in their 50s that, you know, I know from church or I train with. That's really young. And to be at the peak, to have gained the world, to have, you know, slowly crossed over, and then the reporting of your death is controversial YouTuber who provided toxic advice, and you know, to it all be deduced to a paragraph on TMZ. It's sad and it's tragic and it's unfortunate and it's sobering. And I hope that the fans of Kevin Samuels who clicked on here, that you would eat the chicken and spit out the bone. That whatever you gleaned from him with regards to improving yourself, improving your skill set, improving how you dress, taking care of yourself in the gym, to make yourself the best version of yourself that you could possibly be. Like, I hope that you would glean those things while spitting out a lot of the toxicity, a lot of the cognitive dissonance, a lot of the contradicting values of saying you're a person of faith while at the same time, you know, telling women who are over 35 that they're leftovers. While, you know what I mean? Like, so these things are not consistent. Like, hopefully we can acknowledge that these things are not consistent. They're not congruent. This is not how you lead a happy, successful life. And if you understand that it's entertainment, if you understand that Fresh and Fit is entertainment, I don't support that sort of entertainment. I didn't really watch Kevin Samuels regularly. I watched enough when I learned about him. I watched a couple times when he was taking calls and I was thinking about calling in. That you would be aware that ultimately what you see some of this stuff in the Manosphere, addressing some right issues, but the conclusions are unhelpful. The conclusions is what you see that played out with Fresh and Fit consistently getting roasted every other month. That's the same value system, same conclusions Kevin Samuels had, just repackaged in a goofy, sloppy packaging that's not as smooth. as Kevin Samuels, and that the audience would take that away. Fresh and Fit will take over a lot of that space, and those guys are really far gone. And I hope that it doesn't go that way. Like, I hope I see my brothers like Hafiz continue stepping up, continue pressing in to faith, continue pressing in to conversations about faith, to conversations about God, to conversations about family, to conversations about being a one-woman man, to conversations about what it really means, not just to be high value in net worth, but to be high value in character, high value in integrity, high value in who you are as a father to your children, and being in proximity to your family, high value in areas beyond just the superficial temporal, because goodness gracious, you could have all the superficial, you could have the world, you could have all this sort of stuff, but if it comes at the cost of compromising or putting out a confusing message, it sucks. And so I want to hear from you guys in the comments section. Like, what do you guys think is going to be his legacy here? What do you guys think is going to be the way that the folks remember him? If you completely disagree with him, because I know there's a mixed bunch here, is there some things that you gleaned from him that were helpful? If you're all the way on Kevin Samuels, the Godfather, he's the greatest ever, are there some things you can honestly and objectively say, yeah, no, I'm a critical thinker, he said this, and this is toxic, this is unhelpful, the way he spoke to women in Israel? You guys have a balanced perspective. I want to hear from you guys in the comments section. If you guys want to see some of my videos reacting specifically in long form to some Kevin Samuels content, specifically the one about high value men should cheat, just so you guys don't think I'm making that up, you can click over here, and I will see you guys next time. All right, peace.